Mel,
And I'm Mel.
and this is the Murder Mamas. Welcome.
Hello.
Hello, we're back again. 2 weeks in a row.
Look at us.
And I think this is episode 99.
Ooh.
So maybe we should do like a special 100th episode. I don't know.
Can we just talk?
That's fine.
What we've learned in 100 episodes.
What we've learned, what to do and what not to do.
No, we still have no idea what to do.
We don't know what we're doing.
We're just talking at this point. This is just us talking.
Yeah, it is. And that's okay.
Because this is our podcast and not yours.
Yeah.
And you don't have to listen.
You don't. I
You
wish
don't
you
have to
would,
leave
but
comments.
no, you don't have to leave me comments. Just go to a different podcast.
If you want something else, go get something else. That's up to you.
It is true.
Because, again, this is our podcast,
Our podcast.
not yours.
Yep.
I mean, wise words of Trixie and Katya. They're drag queens.
Okay.
You don't know.
I don't.
You don't?
I have no idea.
Oh, man.
I don't know anything about that.
You gotta watch the RuPaul's Drag Race.
Yeah. Not really my thing. Anyway,
I made Chris watch it.
did you? What do you think?
He actually liked it.
Did he?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't want to offend anybody, but like Auntie looked at it and he was like, "What the fuck is happening?" was his thing. So, like, I don't know. I'm just not used to it. I don't really watch it, so I don't even know what happens.
It's
So.
like a competition show.
Oh,
We
okay.
love competition shows.
Yeah, I like competition shows. I just haven't ever watched it. So, yeah. Okay. Anyway.
Again, this is our podcast.
Yeah.
And we can talk about whatever we want. And tonight, what we're really talking about is not RuPaul's Drag
No,
Race.
we are not. We are going to talk about Amanda Knox and it's the Netflix documentary, right?
Why are you asking a question? You're the one who told me we were watching.
I know, because then I was thinking,
No.
was it who?
Be confident.
It's Netflix.
It is Netflix.
Yes. So Amanda Knox,
Foxy Knox.
Foxy Knoxy. I don't know. I think I would like to put a backstory to the case. This is an
Backstory?
older case, but I think people who don't know what it's I just don't think this particular documentary went into great detail about like either one of the Meredith or Amanda's stories. And it was just kind of skimmed over. It was a good documentary. It got like all the facts in there, but I just thought like maybe we could expand it a little bit more.
You're the expert.
Okay.
You're the SME.
Amanda Knox, I just know this is just from me knowing this case because I remember back a long time ago, I watched a documentary when she was in Italy still, and I've just been fascinated by this case for this long. So she was a 20-year-old American girl from Seattle, Washington, who was kind of quirky, she said. And in my opinion, and I don't want to offend anybody, but it's just my opinion, I feel like she's kind of maybe on the spectrum. That's just me. Some of the stuff that she does during this time of like her trial and right after a murder happens and all this is a little questionable. And I feel that
I think people can have.
this is my opinion. Like,
Okay.
that's just my opinion.
So I'm not going to tell your opinion wrong, but it's wrong.
Okay.
I think people can have questionable responses to like traumatic events.
Oh, I totally think so too.
And that doesn't mean that they're autistic.
No, I don't think so. It just other characteristics that went along with her. Like as I was watching her and as I've seen her interviews and stuff, it just seems to me that maybe she could be.
Okay.
Not just based on this one, based on like all of the ones that I've watched of her throughout the years. So just my opinion. So she was in college and decided that she wanted to study abroad, and she moved to Italy.
Mhm.
And I guess I didn't realize like when she moved to Italy, this thing happened in 2 weeks or less than 2
Yes.
weeks. Like, I don't know. I guess I forgot that part of the story, and I assumed that this was like 3 months into it. But
So when all of Go ahead, finish.
No, that's it. Like, that's insane that this happened so fast.
So when this happened, I remember I was only 19. I
Yeah.
think it was in, right?
Yeah.
No, 17. It was 2007. wasn't it?
2007. Yeah.
So I was 17.
Yeah.
So like I wasn't really paying attention to this. Like,
Right.
I was a senior in high school. Like,
And that's when I had just married or we're about to marry my husband. So I remember watching that documentary in our room, like while he was playing video games or whatever.
Yeah.
So,
but I do like I very, very briefly remember hearing the media talk about like her boyfriend and her boyfriend. And I felt like they made it seem like they had been together for
what?
months, if
Yeah.
not like years.
Right.
Like with the devotion and how he would do anything for her.
Right.
And then
But they only
watching
met.
watching this, she was like, he says, like, I had only known her 5 days. I'm like,
Yeah. What?
what?
Yeah.
5 days.
Uh-huh.
Wild.
Yeah. So they're not boyfriend, girlfriend. They're just seeing each other. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think there's a established relationship
also,
yet. I
like,
don't know.
I sort of swooned when he was talking about like how he was in prison and Amanda had said like her feelings changed or whatever. I mean, I know we'll get there. But,
Yeah.
and he was like, I just wish I could have sent Amanda flowers. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Those are romantic Italian men.
Mhm.
Okay.
So she moves into
Sorry.
an apartment or a flat,
It's like
whatever.
a house.
It is a house. She called it an apartment, but it's a 3-bedroom. I don't know. She's got a couple roommates. One of them is Meredith Kuchar. She was 21 from England.
I think
Amanda.
it's like part of the university, like
Yeah,
program
I think
where
it was.
Like,
They were
connect
all-
them with housing or whatever.
Yeah, they were all students, I believe. And then a couple other. And then we're going to be talking about Raphael, who was Amanda's boyfriend, quote unquote, but only known for 5 days. And then we're going to talk about Rudy.
Rudy.
Yes. And yeah,
There's that other guy, Patrick.
yeah. And then I don't know if the press guy that was on there, he rubbed me the wrong way. I don't know. I think all the press people rub me the wrong way whenever they're in the documentary. I was like, I need you to just step away from the camera and
Okay,
be done.
so I have the same complaint that I had last week with the press. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, what?
Who do you think you are?
What the fuck? Okay, so I was talking with, I think it was my family, about like the press and how they just like jump on everything bad.
Mhm.
And I read a story that after the Titanic sank, okay,
Yeah.
1912,
Yeah.
like newspaper reporters got on boats and took boats out to the ship that saved, like that had Titanic survivors on it,
Mm-hmm.
to be the first ones to get interviews.
Yeah. That's disgusting.
They have always been this way.
Mm-hmm.
And it's disgusting. Like,
Yeah.
I wish there was regulations in place for this
Oh, there
shit.
should be.
Like,
Yeah. But one of his comments I found, he was like, well, it was a murder. So, like, obviously that's a good story. You know, he said something to that. I don't want to quote him. That's not what he said. But I was just like, wow, you really were like, this is bad. So that makes me so much happier that I can report something that's so horrific.
yes.
What?
Yes.
the
And
fuck?
then I think at the end, he's like, everyone said it was a trial by media, but like, you know, that's not what this was. I'm like, no,
that's exactly
what this was.
what this was.
And also, like, he was like, oh, we only report what we're told. And how can I fact check? I'm like,
That's your job.
absolutely should be fact checking. But if I don't fact check, like if I
won't be the first.
If I fact check, then someone else gets my scoop.
Right.
I'm like,
Yeah.
okay,
This guy.
then they can report the wrong thing and you can be ethical.
Right.
And go to bed and know that you're not saying that this is a demonic ritual when it's just factually incorrect.
Right. Yeah, I was done
Really,
with him. Done
really.
with him.
And then the other one I found especially jarring was at the end when she's home.
Yeah.
And the reporter's talking to her dad. And he's like, oh, in a month, you know, it won't be a hot commodity anymore.
Right. So you need to get it out now.
Yeah. And his dad was like, I don't view her as a hot commodity. I view her as my daughter.
Right.
Like,
exactly. Yeah. These people, they're disgusting.
If anything ever happened to my family that had press response like this, I would not say a single fucking word to them just out of spite.
Yeah. No. Never say anything to the press. They're going to blow it out because they edit
just out of spite.
And they make it different than what you said. So no, don't ever speak to the press.
If I ever go missing or anything happens to me.
Yep.
And I see that you talk to the press. Oh. I'm going to put you in a fucking headlock. Headlock City, bitch.
Yep. Okay. So, who's the guy that owns the bar? Patrick. Okay. So Amanda decides that she should probably get a job.
Well, because the program, I guess, is not as time intensive or hard as she thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
So she's like, okay, like I'm going to have a lot of extra time.
I'd like to have some money to go do things.
Go experience the
Italy.
country.
Yeah. Because how fucking amazing would that be? I mean, I was thinking about that. I'm like, man, that is so fun. Like, just to be young like that and you're, like, traveling into, like, a beautiful country, too. Italy, that's one of my bucket list countries.
I know it is.
So,
we talked about this the other day.
I really want to go there. So, yeah, she gets a job at a bar. And I think that's where she meets... Raphael, is that he was in the bar?
I believe so.
Yeah. So they meet, they hit it off, and I guess they spend a lot of time together, I'm assuming.
Yeah, like they basically become inseparable.
Because this is only, that's from now and then 5 days is when the murder happens. So they haven't been together that long. But they call themselves boyfriend and girlfriend. And when they're standing outside of the apartment after they find out that Meredith has been murdered, they're like kissing and hugging and like making googly eyes at each other. And that's a little awkward to me. Like, I could see them like hugging, like he's comforting her because she's sad because her roommate was just brutally murdered. But that's not what was happening.
I mean,
to me.
Is this going to sound really fucked up? Like, sure, that was her roommate, but it's not like they were friends for a year. Like, this was a woman she knew for
5 days.
No, 2 weeks.
Oh, 2 weeks. Yeah.
Like,
he had moved, yeah.
Okay, yeah, like, that's really sad, and that sucks, and this makes me feel really insecure because clearly someone, like, broke in here and did something, and now I feel like my safety, you know, like, that's is gone. But, like, I don't know. Like, I don't know necessarily that I would be, like, making out with someone outside, but I don't know that I would be, like, so horribly heartbroken.
No, I wouldn't be heartbroken.
Someone I hardly knew.
I would be scared to death because I would be, and my point is, like, I would not be wanting to be, like, kissing. I'd be like, okay, this just fucking happened in my house. I'm in a foreign country. Like, that could have been me. Like, that's what I would expect out of somebody. Not like, I'm not just saying, like, yes, just have concern for Meredith. That wouldn't be my main thing would be like, okay, I need to go home. No. But, like, I wouldn't want to live there if that happened. I'd be like, I need to contact my parents and get the fuck out of here because there's no way I'm going back into that house and living there for the rest of the semester when my roommate was just brutally murdered. That's what I would expect. Not so much as, oh, poor Meredith. Well, yeah, she does have poor Meredith, but it would be more on, I would be scared to death. That's how I would act, I think.
I mean, like, again, I would kind of be like, this is the school and, like, the program's problem. Yeah. You know, like, you guys got to find me a place that's safe. Like, what am I going to do? Right. I don't know.
No, it's true.
Like, logically, what am I going to do?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I would be scared and be like, do I really need to stay here for the remainder? Am I going to get murdered next? Like, is this an unsafe country to be in? That's what would be going through my head. Yeah. So.
I mean, maybe her head has room for both of those thoughts.
Yeah, maybe.
I want to kiss my new Italian boyfriend, and I'm also kind of wondering these things. I think
it's both.
We have the brain capacity for both those thoughts.
Yeah.
You know?
It's true. So I think
Am I a really terrible person
no.
for saying like
No, because I was thinking that while I was watching the movie, I was like, I don't think she should be acting so, like, she doesn't need to be crying over Meredith because she doesn't even know the girl. But she should
she
be
does.
that's really sad. But I mean, that's fine, whatever.
Move on.
Move on. So I think it's the boyfriend that calls the cops, right? He's the one that, I don't think
Yeah,
she
yeah.
initially calls the
So
cops.
what I find interesting is that the night before Meredith is found dead,
Yeah.
Amanda is staying at Raphael's house.
Yes.
And so that's her alibi.
Yeah.
You know, she was told not to go into work because like it wasn't busy.
Yeah, she got a text. And
She got a
said,
text.
You don't need to come into work
from
tomorrow.
Patrick that's
Yeah.
like, hey, you don't have to come in today. And she replies,
Great.
like, okay, cool, like, see you later,
Yeah.
you know, which is important
Yeah.
when we get to the fucking investigator.
Yeah.
But she gets home and she goes into the bathroom. So, like, she didn't even enter Meredith's room. She didn't check on her. Like,
her door was
They weren't
shut.
even close enough to be like, hey, Mare, I'm home.
Right.
You know, like,
Yeah.
there was, like, none of that.
Yeah.
So she gets home. She goes to the shared bathroom. That's going to be loud, huh? I'm sorry. I picked off my nail polish. So she goes into the bathroom and she says that she saw a few drops of blood in the sink.
Yeah.
And like doesn't really think anything of it because that could be from literally anything.
Anything. It could be from brushing your teeth and your gum bleeds. Anything. No, I was thinking about, I was like, how many different ways? And I'm like, that could happen. They could have been shaving. That could have happened. Like someone got a nick or someone came in from outside the bathroom and then came in,
Yeah.
like washing it
So,
off.
like,
So
all
like, there's a
kinds of
lot of
stuff.
things.
So then she gets in the shower and she takes a shower and then she steps out of the shower and she sees like a bloody footprint sort of.
Yeah. Or
like
blood on the towel.
On the like bath mat.
Yeah, the bath mat.
And then she notices that there's poop in the toilet.
Which is really weird. Yeah.
Just so gross.
Yeah.
And that's when she says like she felt like unsafe.
Yeah.
Because she's like, what the fuck is going on? Like there's blood and now there's like shit here.
Yeah.
So like she calls Raphael and she's like, I don't know what's going on. Like I think someone might be in here. I don't know. And then they start looking and they discover Meredith's body.
Yeah.
So just to.
Yeah.
So she was in the house for a little while before they call the police.
Yes.
Is what I was getting at.
Yeah. And the police come, and I swear to God, the policeman who's interviewed, he's telling his side of the story. And he was like, I get to the scene and I see this woman laying and she's covered by a blanket. And the only person that does that are females. Females are the ones that cover the blanket. Men don't care about that. So like all of a sudden I'm thinking, so now he hasn't even looked through the scene. He hasn't finished.
Are we talking about the like main investigator guy? Oh.
He hasn't finished even going inside and looking around to see other key points that could be clues. And he just, all of a sudden, he's like, it was a female because the body was covered and only females do that. And it's just his opinion for the next hour long.
Yes.
Like the rest of the documentary is just his opinion.
Is based on this one investigator's opinion.
So now he's narrowed it down and he's thinking, I'm like, I know he's already thinking, oh, there's the roommate. It must have been her.
Yeah.
Oh, she's American. Like it must have been her. Nobody in Italy would do this type of thing to this girl. Like, no, not in my town. We're all nice and sweet. Like, so he automatically had it out for her, Amanda. Automatically. And I was like, that is insane.
He really said, like, some of the things he said were so, it's a shame I didn't write them down.
I know, I was just thinking I
should
have quoted him a bunch of
because,
times.
like, I was just reading, he speaks in Italian, so you have to read, like, the subtitles.
Yeah.
And so that's why I didn't write them down, because I was reading.
Yeah.
But I'm like, he just makes the most outlandish claims for, like, those who commit crimes and why they commit the crime. I knew it was
Yeah.
a staged crime scene from the second I walked on the scene.
Right.
How?
How? All it was there was blood.
Rock. There was a rock through glass, right?
Right.
And then like blood.
Yeah. So that to me would think break in automatically, just for me. And then if it's not, we X out break in. But he was like, no, it wasn't a break in. It was just
Yeah.
it was staged to that way. I'm like, what?
But didn't provide any substantial
Evidence
on why it was staged.
Right.
Right? There was no like, oh, like I don't know, I've seen so many true crime things. Like, we could tell it was staged because the
gun was on the wrong side.
The screen was popped out from the inside, not the outside, and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
They know what they're looking for, but, like, he didn't have anything substantial. He just said, oh, it just looks staged.
Yeah. What?
What?
And then there were cops walking through. They didn't have booties on. They didn't change their gloves like they were supposed to when they were supposed to.
It was like a nice trip to the 1970s.
Just honestly, yeah, exactly. Like no protocol whatsoever. And then the media's there, like taking pictures and all this. And I'm just like, what? They didn't contain the scene. They didn't make them stand back. Like, I was like, what in the world? And then then you have detective guy being like, well, it must be a girl and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, they're not even collecting DNA evidence. One of her I think her clasp, wasn't that retrieved like 70 days after the trial?
It was underneath a rug, and I think it was 45 days after.
45 days.
After the murder.
After the murder, this thing was found. So all they had to do is lift up a rug, which they should have done in the first place, looking for more blood, is what I would do if I was a crime scene cleaner. And they didn't find a key piece of evidence for 45 days.
And then when they did, they were like, yeah, we don't really. That evidence doesn't really fit our narrative.
Right.
So, like,
we've already
fucking burn it.
Defined our story, and we've already guilted her in our minds.
And then the media just goes crazy. It's a demonic, satanic rituals and
how did they even get to like threesomes and sex crave? Like, her body did have sexual assault injuries that the coroner did determine to have. But the only thing that I can think of is when they're questioning Amanda about this, they had to, I think they asked her very personal questions about like how many people she had been with. And this gets out into the media. And then all of a sudden, that's why she was a part of this murder, is because she had sex with all these people?
Okay, but she was a 20-year-old woman who had slept with 7 men.
Right.
Like, is that a lot?
No.
I don't think so.
I don't think so. I know. That's what I was like, No, I don't think that's something out of the ordinary. Like, she's a girl. She's in college. Like, get your freak on. I think we all did that. But yeah, when he had 7, I'm like,
I didn't want to say that, but like,
no, I don't think that's
when they were like, and it was 7 men, like, including the man she was presently sleeping with.
Right.
So before him, 6 sexual partners.
Right.
Until at 20 years old.
At 20 years old. Yeah. Oh, it's not that bad.
It's not nothing. It's not one.
Right.
It's not like, was with my high school boyfriend until I moved here, and then he's the only other man I've been with. Like, it wasn't that, but it's like, it's not like 140 or 55 or 1,000. Like,
so they just totally
and
just
also, why does it matter?
And it doesn't matter.
What does that matter?
It has nothing to do with it.
How does that pertain?
Right. It doesn't at all whatsoever. So then they start calling her Foxy Noxy, and they have all these names for her. And all of a sudden, this is a sex crime gone wrong. And they've determined that Rudy, who is a man, wasn't he involved? No, they found his DNA.
The weirdest part to me, I found this to be really strange. Like, why did once they find Rudy's DNA, they be like, oh, sorry, Amanda and Raphael.
Yeah.
It's actually this other guy, because they, like, find his DNA, convict him, try him, and send him into jail for this lady's murder.
Right.
But then also are still trying and convicting Amanda and all these other people.
Right.
I'm like...
And his DNA was actually found on her.
In her room.
In her bedroom.
Where Amanda's DNA and Raphael's DNA not found at all.
Not found at all.
So how the fuck did they kill this woman?
Well, because Amanda's DNA was on a kitchen knife in the drawer, which I was saying if she lived there and ever cut a vegetable or fruit or piece of bread, wouldn't her fingerprints be all over those utensils?
Well, so it was because also Meredith's DNA was on the knife end of it.
But what kind of DNA?
Well,
just DNA.
No, because at the end, you find...
Aggressive door slamming there.
You find that that DNA, Meredith's DNA, was such a minuscule sample that they couldn't even truly identify it.
Yeah.
And then when they went to the lab who processed it, they're like, hey, how many pieces were you processing that day or at that time or whatever? And they were like, oh, over... What was the number? I don't remember. It was like 45 or something. So it was clearly lab contamination.
Right.
That caused her DNA to end up on that knife.
And it wasn't, and it couldn't be included. They based it off and said inconclusive. Like,
correct.
They changed it to inconclusive because it wasn't even, like, what?
But this was after she had already been convicted.
Right.
And in prison. This was during her appeal.
Yes. So, yeah, Rudy gets tried, convicted, goes...
And nobody, talks about that at all. Right. He gets, 16 years or something?
At least not in this... They didn't spend a lot of time on him.
Rudy was an open and shut case. He was a sketchy guy with a criminal history. And, we'll put him behind bars, but also, fuck this American bitch. Mm-hmm. What?
Yeah. So... On January 16th, 2009, the Kircher murder trial begins. After 14 months in jail, Knox and Raphael appear in a court for the start of their first murder trial. June 12th, 2009, Knox testifies in her defense. She takes the stand. We don't really hear anything about this. This is but she goes on and then I think they're tried separate, are they not? They tried... I
believe so,
them. Yeah. They didn't want to try them together. They wanted to pin each other against each other, I think.
Yes.
Is what they were trying to do. So, December 4th, Amanda and Raphael are convicted.
It's a long trial.
It was a long trial. And in a different country, they're speaking a different language. I don't know if Amanda was fully fluent.
She's fluent. She was fluent by the way she speaks.
She's
texting in that language.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah, when she was when they were reading the thing, and she knew right away what they were talking about, and I didn't know what they were saying because I didn't speak Italian, so I guess she was kind of fluent.
Yeah. She was definitely fluent.
Okay. So Knox was sentenced to 26 years and Raphael was sentenced to 25 years. And I'm like, why was Amanda convicted in one more year? I don't understand. They were ordered to pay more than $7 million to the families for defamation. Kircher's family.
For defamation?
Yeah. I don't know.
What?
That wasn't in there anyway. Yeah. So then, they get sent to jail. 4 years go by. And then finally, Amanda...
She's appealing at this
she's been appealing. And finally, her appeal goes through. And a second trial begins.
Correct.
Yes.
And so the result of that second trial is they find that the DNA... They find that the entire case was mishandled from the beginning. But they also find, the most damning things. The DNA, the bra clasp that was found 45 days later. Mm-hmm. Kind of things that we've already touched on.
Yep.
And so during the appeal, they get, I don't want to use the word exonerated.
No.
Because that's not the right word. But they get acquitted.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so then
they overturned the convictions.
Whatever. Acquitted.
Yeah.
I think is the word.
Sure.
And so then Raphael gets out of prison, and so does Amanda, and Amanda returns home.
Yeah.
She's thrilled.
Yeah.
He said he was happy at first to be free, Raphael. Mm-hmm. And then he says, it sucks. Like, I was a quiet computer guy before all of this, and now everyone knows me. Everyone's talking about me. Like, everyone
Ask me questions.
asks me questions.
Yeah.
And at the grocery store, I know that they're thinking about it and looking. And same thing, Amanda says the same thing.
Sure. That's got to be so hard.
The worst.
Yeah.
The worst.
Yeah.
Just knowing. She's like, everyone who looks at me knows how many people I've slept with.
Right. Like that's so, yeah.
What?
And this was broadcasted all over. So like this was like, because she was in Italy. I think it got so much time because she was an American in Italy is what happened. So everybody knew her.
And I really thought it was so funny how they spent a lot of time, this documentary spent some time showing like the American media talking about the appeal.
Yeah.
Because that's when they sort of got into it, it seemed like. Mm-hmm. And discussing the appeal and how, like, you know, America shouldn't intervene with like the courts of a different country and like that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But also then it goes back to the, like, one of the Italian defense attorneys for the Rudy guy. And he's like, America, you know, like the American media is trying to tell us that we're doing law wrong here, but this courthouse was built in 1308 and was how, like, I don't know.
We've been here longer than
the
you. The
first judicial something rather of Europe started here, and in 1308 you were drawing cave paintings of buffalo in America.
Right.
And I was like, what the
Why are
fuck?
we attacking each other's countries?
What the fuck? Like,
yeah, that was really weird.
it was such a weird moment. I was like,
I think because everyone was like, you just based your thing off your opinion.
Yes.
Like, you didn't put facts into that case at all.
yeah. And then just like we used it to really spout some nationalism.
Yeah.
It's very strange.
It was very strange.
But then so she gets to come home. So she comes home and everything's good for a while.
Yeah.
But like, people aren't happy. The Italian people aren't happy.
They're not.
They feel like this case needs to go to the Supreme Court and that.
Which is weird to me because they had a guy and they convicted him.
That's what I'm saying.
So why do they care about Amanda so much? I don't understand that. It's just
like
because of that one guy.
Hated her.
Yeah.
Like,
they did.
They really just hated her.
Everybody hates Americans. It's so true.
Except for Raphael. Poor Raphael.
Poor Raphael.
He just wanted to send her flowers.
Yeah.
He was so sweet.
Yeah, he was nice.
So then they're like rioting outside.
Yeah,
and,
it's insane.
Court, and you know, it's so strange. And even Meredith's family is like, no, I know they're guilty.
Yeah. I know. They totally brainwashed. I know. It doesn't make any sense. That guy just got into their heads, the detective.
No evidence.
No evidence at all. And that's just so, like, I'm so glad. I know our system is flawed. Flawed. But I have faith in the fact that if a detective was like, oh, just by my feeling, I think she's guilty, the other detective, his partner, would be like, no, I think we need some evidence. And then the prosecution would be like, I think we need some evidence. And the district attorney would be like, I think we need some evidence. Like, it would go through those channels.
Get an arrest warrant or whatever.
You have to have something.
To have some sort of substantial.
Yeah. Not in your mind. Proof. Not what you think.
Because even when they think that you've done something, right? They can only hold you and question you for 48 hours, 24 hours or something like that before they're able to like find charges to press.
Yeah.
Otherwise they have to let you go.
Oh, they'll let you go. Yeah. So yeah.
Also, she does mention that she got really overwhelmed and confused when she was getting questioned by the police.
Sure.
Because they were like hitting her in the head and telling her, remember me, like remember. And she says, fuck. At one point, I don't know, like I just remembered all this. She says fuck at one point and like one of them starts yelling at her, I know fuck.
Yeah.
And thinks that she's saying fuck you to him.
Right.
But she's just saying fuck, like overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And so there's like a language barrier. The language barrier
is huge right there.
Could you get her a translator maybe? Right. Like I know she's pretty fluent, but maybe if she's struggling, you guys don't have any translators, or like, what about the U.S. Embassy?
Right.
Where are they?
Right.
Why is nobody helping her?
I know. This
really
case
wild.
Is insane. It was wild.
But anyways, back to the Supreme Court. So the case goes in front of the Supreme Court.
Yeah. Again.
In like 2015 or something.
Yeah.
It's like way later.
Way later. Yeah. Can you imagine?
8 years after the murder,
Yeah, 8
I think?
years after.
And so I also noticed that a lot of the footage from the trials was like at night.
Yeah.
I'm like, why is the court system open at like 10 p.m.?
And maybe, I don't know.
It was really like, it was weird.
It was weird. Yeah.
But I guess she didn't even have to go back for this trial.
That would have made me sick if I had to do that after being
home.
Yeah, after being home.
For so long, too.
Yeah.
And so then the Supreme Court deliberates on everything, and they exonerate her.
Yeah.
So I think she can't get tried again for it.
Right.
And Raphael.
Yeah.
They're a package deal.
Yes.
So they both get exonerated for like the gross mishandling and no physical evidence.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the documentary, you hear from the detective who's, I guess, been promoted.
Yeah.
Or the investigator who says, like, if, what do you say? If I'm wrong, like, okay. They were, like, sorry for the inconvenience, basically. And I'm like, the fuck? Like, even still, after it's gone to the highest court in the country, he can't say,
I was wrong.
I was wrong.
Yeah.
I made a mistake. He said, if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
And then he goes, and if I'm right, there's a court higher than the Supreme Court, and it's the final one, and there's no second trials. Basically, God.
Right. Yeah.
I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah. This guy was, no.
I hated him.
I didn't like him at all.
I hated him.
Oh, yeah. The worst. Base it off fact. That's all I want. Like, just do a fact.
One fact.
Yeah.
One fact is that Rudy killed her.
Right.
He broke in.
Yeah.
Because he was a thief.
Right.
And had been arrested for burglary. So he probably broke in to commit a burglary.
Thinking there was no one home, I was going to assume.
And then found her, raped her, killed her, and then left.
And then left, yep.
And left the DNA there.
Yep, which they found eventually.
And then got tried for it. And he even initially, I completely forgot this. Rudy even initially says, like, Amanda didn't do this. Because this is all over the media.
Right.
He's like, Amanda was not home.
Right.
No one was home.
Yeah.
And says, I did it. And then he gets a defense attorney. And then his story changes. And he's like, Amanda was there and she told me what to do.
Yeah.
And like, plays into the whole sex demon thing.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It was crazy.
This was a good documentary.
It was a good documentary.
It didn't do a lot of backstory stuff. I really liked the pacing of it.
I did too. It was
recommend
good.
If you haven't watched it yet.
I would recommend it as well. All right.
Adios.